In the heart of the dense emerald forests of East Africa, where ancient trees whispered stories to the wind and the ground echoed with the rhythm of drums at dusk, there existed a kingdom known as Utumbali, the land of dignity. This kingdom, though not the largest, was feared and respected. Ruled by Chief Baraka, a man whose voice alone could shake armies, Utumbali was known for its warriors, fire rituals, and brutal tests of strength. Baraka believed strength was everything, louder than wisdom, taller than kindness, and harder than truth. Every year, Baraka would bring prisoners from rival tribes, force them into servitude, and challenge his warriors to prove their might over them. One such year, among the prisoners was a boy, no older than 17, with quiet eyes and hands that never clenched into fists. His name was Jabari, meaning the brave. But the warriors laughed when they heard it. "This one is brave," they mocked. "He doesn't speak, doesn't even look at you in the eye." Baraka ignored him. To him, Jabari was just another shadow in chains. But Jabari, he watched. He listened. He remembered. From the first day, he observed the way warriors trained, how the chief moved his hands when angry, and how the moonlight danced on the ceremonial stones. He never spoke unless asked. But when he did, even the parrots stopped their chatter. One day, Baraka asked him, "Boy, why do you stay silent? Are you afraid?" Jabari looked at him calmly and replied, "I speak when words can change something. Otherwise, silence teaches me more." Baraka scoffed, but a seed of curiosity planted itself in his mind. Weeks passed, and Jabari served quietly, carrying water, cleaning weapons, feeding the war dogs. But even in his silence, he began to unsettle people. Why? Because he never showed fear. Not even when the warriors roared in his face. Not when the guards whipped others to prove their power. Not even when Baraka himself threatened to cut his tongue. He never bowed too low. He never looked too proud. His balance was terrifying. Whispers began. "He isn't like the others. He watches like a lion waiting in the grass. What if silence is strength?" Baraka could sense it. His men were losing fear. And so, he devised a test. He ordered what was known as the fire pit trial. It was a brutal tradition. A man had to walk barefoot over burning coal, carrying a pot of water on his head. If he screamed or spilled even a drop, he was declared unworthy. Most failed. Many died. Baraka stood before his people and shouted, "Let us end this myth of the silent boy today." He called Jabari. The crowd jeered. Some chanted for his fall. Others watched in tense curiosity. Jabari stepped forward slowly, his feet bare, his arms thin, his face calm. The pot was placed on his head. The fire burned red and crackled. The smell of scorched air hung heavy. Drums began to beat, deep, slow, threatening. And then, he walked. One step, then another. No flinch, no sound. The flames licked his skin. Smoke rose. The crowd held its breath. He kept walking. When he stepped off the coals, not a drop of water had spilled. He turned, bowed once, not to the crowd, not to Baraka, but to the earth itself, and sat down. There was silence. Then, chaos. Some shouted that it was magic. Others claimed he was a spirit. A few knelt in awe. Baraka clenched his jaw. "He must be hiding something," the chief muttered. But inside, even he had felt something. Not fear, not anger, but doubt. Was this boy truly weak? Or did he possess something even kings could not command? After the fire pit trial, Jabari became a name that refused to stay quiet, even if he himself remained so. Around evening fires, people whispered. He did not scream. He walked through fire like it was sand. Is he a slave or a spirit? Even children imitated him, walking barefoot on hot stones for fun, pretending to be Jabari. Some of the elders began to speak of old prophecies, stories of a silent flame that would rise in the time of arrogance to humble the throne. And in the palace, the cracks had begun. Baraka's warriors, once loud and cruel, now acted differently around Jabari. Some offered him food. One even asked him to teach him breathing techniques, the same breathing Jabari used before stepping into fire. Baraka noticed. He hated it. Fear is control, he once told his generals. But now they fear the one who says nothing. The chief called Jabari one night to his stone hall, lit with flaming torches and guarded by 2 lions chained beside the throne. He offered him a seat. Jabari stood. Baraka spoke, voice thick with suspicion. "You're clever. I see that now. But I am not like my people. I don't fall for riddles and games. I rule through strength." Jabari responded softly. "Then you must be very tired." Baraka's eyes flared. "What do you mean?" Jabari looked him in the eye. "Strength is heavy, and fear makes it heavier. You have carried both alone for too long." There was no challenge in his voice. No sarcasm. Only observation. Baraka should have ordered his execution right there, but he didn't, because the words stung true. That night, the king couldn't sleep. His dreams were haunted, not by enemies, not by beasts, but by silence. A silence that felt like truth. Jabari's wisdom begins to spread. Soon, warriors began sitting with Jabari under the trees after sunset. He taught them how to breathe before battle, how to listen to the trees before they hunted, how to hear footsteps in silence. One said, "He made me hear my heartbeat for the first time in years." Another said, "He made me realize how loud my pride was." He never claimed to be a teacher. He never preached. But his presence was changing the forest. Even the animals acted differently. The war dogs, once snarling at him, now lay at his feet. One morning, an old warrior named Musa knelt before Jabari and whispered, "When you walked through fire, I saw my dead son in you. I used to tell him to speak less and listen more. I didn't know I needed the same." The whispers had grown louder than Baraka's war drums. Some said Jabari had been sent by the spirits. Others said he was a fallen prince. The people, the warriors, even the palace guards, all began to look at Jabari differently. Not as a servant, not as a prisoner, but as something greater. Baraka couldn't stand it anymore. The thought of a boy in chains becoming the soul of his people made his blood boil. He knew he couldn't kill Jabari. Not now, not when the eyes of the kingdom watched his every move. But he could do something worse. He could humiliate him. The Great Assembly. Once every year, the entire kingdom gathered for the Assembly of Honor, where warriors displayed strength and rulers renewed their vows. It was a sacred event, a day when Baraka reminded the people why he was king. This year, he announced a special performance. A guest of honor, he smiled, will show us what silence is truly worth. When the day arrived, thousands gathered in the open square. Banners flew, drums beat, the sacred horns blew, and then Jabari was brought forth, still wearing a prisoner's robe, still silent. Baraka stood beside him and declared, "He stands the boy of fire, the one you now call wise. But what is wisdom without obedience? What is calmness if it defies your chief?" He handed Jabari a wooden bowl and gestured to the dust at his feet. "Show them your place. Crawl to me and fill this bowl with dust, like the low creature you are." Gasps echoed through the crowd. Jabari looked at Baraka, not with anger, not with fear, only sorrow. Then, to everyone's shock, he knelt, not to crawl, not to beg. He dug his fingers into the earth, filled the bowl, and stood tall again. Then, he spoke, only 4 words, soft but powerful. "We all return here." Baraka flinched. The crowd went silent. Then, someone in the back whispered, "He's right." Another, "Even kings return to dust." Then, one by one, elders, women, warriors, began to kneel in honor, not to Baraka, to the truth Jabari had spoken. Even Baraka's own daughter, Nyasha, removed her royal beads and knelt beside Jabari, placing them in the bowl of dust. Baraka stood frozen. In trying to shame Jabari, he had exposed his own emptiness. The kingdom saw it. He felt it. He turned without a word and walked back into the palace, for the first time in his life, defeated not by sword or rebellion, but by humility,